Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. As usual, I'm taking the Cleveland Avenue bus ride home. Yep, I'm still riding in. Seems a little silly to me, of course, of all people not to. Can you imagine Rosa Parks taking a taxi cab? Now that don't even sound right. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "We do not have to become heroes overnight, just a step at a time," meaning each need that comes up and discovering that we have the strength to stare it down. That is what Rosa Parks did on that infamous day in Montgomery, Alabama. She became a hero by taking a seat. Stand by Stephanie Spencer. When I was a girl, there were 36 seats on a Montgomery bus. The first 10 seats were for white folks. Even if there were no white passengers on the bus, there were no laws about the last 10 seats. So you know what that means. They were for us black folk. And when those filled up, we had to stand. And when we wanted to get on a bus, we had to pay, get off, go around, and then climb back in. Shoot, some days I don't even think I was trying to resist segregation on that day in 1955. I was just tired, and I wanted to sit down. Well, seems I took a stand by taking a seat. Now, I know what they say about me in books nowadays, but I'll be the first to tell you, I was just a regular person, just as good as anybody else, and that's why all this started. One of my remarkable memories was a time after World War I when I was 5 or 6 years old. A soldier from the North patted me on the head and said that I was a cute little girl. Later that evening, my family just couldn't quit talking about how the Yankee soldier treated me just like another little girl, and not like a little black girl. I think it was right around the time that I was old enough to realize that we weren't actually free. The Ku Klux Klan was riding through black communities, burning down churches, beating up people, and even killing them. At one point, the violence would be so bad that we'd go to bed with our clothes on, just so we'd be ready to run for when the Klansmen broke into our home. And yet, I'm still asked how I lived with that kind of fear. The only way I knew how. I got me an attitude. Any little thing I could do, I did, and it wasn't anything of great significance, but it was my small way of expressing hostility. I remember I would call white men by their first names, or their whole names, and not to say Miss or Mr. It drove my grandma mad. She once remarked to me that I was much too headstrong. She said that if I weren't careful, that I'd be lynched before you reach 20 years old. Yeah, she said a lot of things to me. She also told me that I was so high-strung that you're gonna get yourself strung high. Now, I don't mind to tell you that what she told me hurt. I felt that I was in my very right to defend myself. But it wasn't until later that I came to understand that she was scolding me because she was afraid for me. Not because she thought that they were right, but because she thought they were stronger than her, stronger than justice. When I was older, I joined the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, all because of Reesa Taylor, a black woman on her way home from church. Reesa was kidnapped and raped by 6 white men. A grand jury refused to indict these men, even though the driver of the car confessed, and he named off all of his accomplices. You see, that was the 1940s, when people took a lot without fighting back. They said their misses and their misters and bowed their heads. But look at me. Do I look like someone who can take a lot? No. I mean, here it was half a century after the first segregation law, and there were 50,000 African Americans in Montgomery, Alabama. More of us rode the buses than the whites did, and it was humiliating riding segregated buses twice a day, 5 days a week. And for what? Just to go downtown and work for white people? The Montgomery NAACP was beginning to talk about starting a boycott against the city buses. I remember them asking a few people if they would be willing to stop riding the buses to make it better for us, and them refusing because they had to go too far for work. Folks thought a petition would be a good start, but I didn't think anything was going to get accomplished with a piece of paper in my hands asking any white folks for any favors. I knew that the only way that we could fight back was if we filed a lawsuit against the city of Montgomery over bus segregation. But we had to have the right plaintiff and a strong case. The best plaintiff would be a woman because a woman would get more sympathy than a man. She had to be above reproach, have a good reputation, and have done nothing wrong but refuse to give up her bus seat. So, of course, yes, we were trying to plan up a scene, but that is not why I refused to give up my bus seat on that Thursday to a white man, December 1st, in 1955. To tell you the truth, if I had been paying attention like I should have been in the first place, that would have never happened. You see, what had happened was, when I got off work that evening to go to the court square as usual to take the Cleveland Avenue bus home, a bus came. There was a number that I didn't check, and then I got on. I paid my dime. The driver of the bus told me to get off the bus and get back on. I told him I was already on the bus, and I didn't see no need of getting off. So I asked him if I could just go on through. He refused. He said, them's the rules, that I had to get off the bus and get back on, or just get off his bus. You see, he didn't even care. Then I stood there as he said the words that I will never forget in my life. He told me I had two choices. Go back and sit with my kind, or just get off his bus. So I said, no, of course. I said no. That's when he threatened to call the police. And so I looked at him and I told him, I do not accept being pushed around even at the own cost of my life. I was raised to be proud, and I see no need of some white person disapproving of me sitting in an empty seat. I'm tired. I'm tired of all this. So no. And if you're going to take me to jail, well, you might as well take me there in this here seat. You see, I never did lose that attitude. So they arrested me, of course, and shortly thereafter, the bus boycott began. Some people think it only took a few months for things to change, but that ain't true. It took generations. To think of it now, it took our whole life history in this here country for things to change. And if you want to know the whole truth, I'll tell you the whole truth. I think it's sad and terrible that so many people know my name, but not nobody know the names of hundreds of thousands of black folk that died before me. And I try to remember what it's like to become a regular person. It takes a lot of folks fighting hard to get you there. And just look at me, just another regular person who some folks and a lot of folks think changed the world. Just imagine what anybody else can do. It's nice to see how far we've come, but my bus is here. But we still have a long ways to go. Thank you.